The Principle of Decomposition for Complex Solids. Welcome, everyone. Let's begin our lesson today by looking at the title of our topic, The Principle of Decomposition for Complex Solids. Now, as you know from our previous lessons on basic geometry, we have spent a lot of time studying individual shapes like cubes, spheres, and cylinders. However, in the real world, we often encounter objects that don't fit the definition of just one single, basic solid. When we see objects made up of multiple shapes joined together, we refer to these as complex solids or combined solids. Now, you might be wondering, how do we find the surface area of something so complicated? Well, instead of searching for a brand new, difficult formula for every single new shape we see, we use a specific strategy called the Principle of Decomposition. Over the next few slides, I am going to show you exactly how we can break these difficult shapes down into simpler parts that we already know how to handle. Understanding the concept. Now that we've introduced the idea that complex solids are just combinations of simpler ones, let's dive deeper into what this principle of decomposition actually means in practice. Think of it as a divide-and-conquer strategy. The principle of decomposition is essentially the process of taking a complex, unfamiliar geometric object and breaking it down into two or more simpler, familiar shapes that you already know how to work with, things like cylinders, cones, spheres, or cubes. The beauty of this method is that instead of wasting time searching for a single, massive, and complex formula for the entire object, which might not even exist, we simply identify the basic solids that make up the object. Once we've identified those parts, the math becomes much more straightforward. We simply apply the standard formulas we've already learned for their curved surface area, or CSA, or their total surface area, or TSA. Ultimately, our entire goal here is to simplify a difficult, intimidating problem into several smaller, much more manageable problems. In the next slide, I'll show you the specific step-by-step process you should follow to perform this decomposition successfully. Step-by-step process for decomposition. Now that we understand the core concept of decomposition from the previous slide, let's walk through the actual strategy you should use whenever you encounter a complex shape. I want you to think of this as a four-step roadmap. Step 1 is visual analysis. Before you even pick up your pen to write any formulas, you must carefully observe the object. Don't rush. You are looking specifically for the boundaries, the exact lines where the shape changes. For instance, look closely at where a curved surface might meet a flat surface, or notice the seam where a cone might be sitting directly atop a cylinder. Identifying these transition points is crucial. Once you've spotted those boundaries, we move to step 2, identification of components. This is where you start naming the shapes you see. You should be asking yourself specific questions. Is this particular section a cylinder? Is this part a hemisphere? Or perhaps this is a cone? The goal here is to strip away the complexity and see only the basic, familiar solids. Next, in step 3, we perform dimension mapping. This is a vital step for accuracy. You need to determine which dimensions are shared between the different solids. For example, if you have a cone placed perfectly on top of a cylinder, you can logically conclude that they likely share the same radius, which we will call R. Finding these shared measurements will prevent errors in your later calculations. Finally, we reach step 4, determining the exposed surfaces. This is perhaps the most critical part of the process. You must distinguish between the surfaces that are on the outside, the ones that are exposed to the air, and the surfaces that are on the inside, which are hidden. Remember, when we are calculating the total surface area of a combined object, only the exposed surfaces contribute to our final answer. As we will see in our upcoming example of the medicine capsule, the surfaces that are pressed together are hidden and must be excluded. Keep these 4 steps in mind, as they will be our guide for the practical example coming up next. Real-world example, the medicine capsule. Now that we understand the theory behind decomposition, let's put it into practice with a real-world example. Take a look at this medical capsule. To the naked eye, it appears to be one single, continuous object. However, applying the principles we just discussed, we can view it mathematically as a combination of basic solids. First, let's perform step 1, decomposition. If we look closely at the structure, we can break the capsule down into 3 distinct parts: a very central cylinder and 2 hemispheres attached to each end of that cylinder. Next, we move to step 2, identifying dimensions. To perform our calculations, let's assign some variables. Let the radius of the cylinder be represented by r, and let the height of the cylindrical section be h. Now, a crucial observation here is that because the hemispheres fit perfectly onto the ends of the cylinder, they must share that same radius, r. Now, this brings us to step 3, which is perhaps the most important part, analyzing the surface area. Remember from our previous slide that we only care about the exposed surfaces. In this case, the curved side of the cylinder is exposed, and the curved surfaces of both hemispheres are also exposed. However, the flat, circular bases of the cylinder and the flat bases of the hemispheres are now hidden because they are pressed against each other inside the capsule. We must exclude these internal faces from our total. Finally, in step 4, we apply the formulas. Since we are only interested in the outer layer, we will use the formulas for curved surface area, or CSA. For the cylinder, the formula is 2 pi RH for a single hemisphere. The formula is 2 pi r squared. To find the total surface area of the entire capsule, we simply add these exposed parts together. We take the CSA of the cylinder and add 2 times the CSA of one hemisphere. When we write that out, it looks like 2 pi RH plus 2 multiplied by 2 pi r squared. When we simplify that expression, we arrive at our final formula for the total surface area, 2 pi RH plus 4 pi r squared. As we will see in the next slide, it is very easy to make mistakes here if you accidentally include those hidden surfaces, so keep that in mind. Key takeaways. Now that we have walked through the step-by-step process and seen how it applies to a real-world object like a medicine capsule, let's pause and summarize the key takeaways from today's lesson. First, remember that the core of our strategy is decomposition. This simply means that whenever you see a shape that looks intimidating or unfamiliar, your first instinct should be to break it down into simpler, familiar geometric solids that you already know how to handle. Second, pay close attention to identification. As we saw in our example, identifying shared dimensions, such as a common radius, r, is absolutely essential. If you miss a shared dimension, your entire calculation will be off. Third, always focus on the exposed surfaces. When we are calculating the total surface area of a combined solid, we are only interested in the parts that are on the outside. If you can touch it from the exterior, it counts toward your total. And finally, this is perhaps the most critical point. You must account for the hidden surfaces. Any faces where 2 solids are joined together are now internal. They are no longer part of the exterior. Therefore, these faces must be excluded from your final calculation. Keep these 4 points in mind, because in our next slide, we are going to look at some very common pitfalls that students often fall into when applying these rules. Common mistakes to avoid. First, and perhaps most importantly, is the error of simply adding the individual total surface areas of each component. You might be tempted to calculate the TSA of the cylinder and add it to 2 times the TSA of the hemisphere. However, this logic is incorrect. If you do this, you are accidentally including the area of the circular bases where the shapes meet. As we discussed with the medicine capsule example, those circular faces are now internal. They are hidden inside the object and are no longer part of the exterior surface. Always remember to only account for the exposed surfaces. Second, be careful not to overlook shared dimensions. I often see students assuming that the different parts of a complex solid have different radii. When you see a problem stating that solids are joined at the base, you should immediately recognize that they likely share the same radius. Always look for these connections to ensure your dimensions are consistent across the entire object. Finally, try not to confuse the concept of volume with that of surface area. This is a subtle but crucial distinction. When we calculate volume, the process is purely additive. You simply sum the volumes of all the parts. But as we have learned today, surface area is not simply additive because of those hidden contact faces we talked about earlier. You must always subtract or exclude the surfaces that are no longer exposed. Now, before we wrap up today's lesson, I want to pause and discuss some common pitfalls. Even if you understand the principle of decomposition, it is very easy to make certain logical errors when performing the actual calculations. Let's look at 3 specific mistakes to avoid. Keep these points in mind, and you will find much more success with these complex geometry problems.